Nice. That's one of them new Ben Franklins you count there, baby Bob.
You don't stop.
Gotta get that money.
You don't stop.
Oh man, this is how we do it. East, west.
I talk to my guys about how to know if you're dealing with a woman that has low threshold. All right. So, what does threshold mean? When we talk about threshold in regards to fitness or athletics or, competition or something like that, we talk about, pretty much how much you can tolerate, how much you can stand, what your patience level is, how resilient you are in situations. So for anybody that knows anything about, working out or maybe even like running track or some shit, like if you're running the 400, right, and in one lap, we look at what your threshold is around the track. So if you're already pulling up and cramping and slowing down off of that first turn, you got low threshold. But we're not going to use that metaphor today. Today, we're actually going to use a metaphor that everybody can relate to, and we're going to talk about food. So we're going to relate this to food in a, analogy sense, and then also you can kind of see the irony in a practical sense too as we're going to relate this to food today. So how to know and how to assess your woman's threshold is take a look at how she handles food. So we use food because food is a highly subjective and opinionated topic. Everybody has their own preference. Everybody has a slightly different or really, big or vastly different, palate in regards to what they like to eat. People may have certain allergies, what they grew up eating, etc., or how they grew up eating, etc. So this is going to be, not something that you're not going to find a scholarly article on this shit. So all of my nerds watching this video, don't start Googling how to judge a woman based off food. You're not going to find this shit. This is completely original, off the dome. You're getting it from here first, all right? So not going to be any data to back this up. But like I said, if you're operating at high masculine energy, you're not going to be against or combative against a new point. So if you're open to hearing this shit out, cool. If you're not, click out the video. It's all good. So today we're going to talk a little shit about how to assess your woman's threshold and tolerance level based on how she handles food. So I got my notes here on the other phone, so I may be looking down from time to time as usual. This will give you a pretty clear indicator as to if you don't already know, or you may not have already had these deliberate conversations with the woman you're dating. This will give you a pretty good ballpark indicator into how much consistency she was raised around, how much she was actually supported and taken care of in her childhood, regardless of, the select stories or things she may want to pinpoint as being a hardship. Sometimes women are good at being very selective about what they choose to highlight, and they don't really tell you the big picture, or they're not really looking at things from the right lens. Not their fault. Most are just built that way. So this will be able to tell you how she handles stress, her level of being open-minded or compromising, and also if she's going to be very emotional or overly emotional and subjective when it comes to matters at hand. So let's go ahead and jump into it. And the first indicator that you can pinpoint to as it relates to food is she a picky eater? Okay, so if she's a picky eater, this means that, or it could very well mean that during her childhood or during her early developmental years, she may have been able to throw a lot of fits or deny a lot of things as far as food, or she may have just simply been given a lot of options when it came to food, and she wasn't really forced to, just eat what was put in front of her. She wasn't raised that way, or she may have had access to a lot of options when it came to food. So she may have not really been in a position to where, this is all we can afford, so you either eat or you don't eat. And she wasn't really raised in that type of hardship. Or you may be dealing with someone who may have had a designated parent or caretaker or provider or nanny who made sure that, her and her siblings, or maybe just her, ate a particular specified type of food to their liking. So if you're dealing with a picky eater, you can kind of dig deeper into this concept and really figure out that, you know, people in their life have really gone out of their way to make sure that she was super comfortable or taken care of, and all of, you know, those things too. So it doesn't just stop with the food, it kind of relates to other things. So you may notice that she could have, or she could be accustomed to a lot of assistance in her life, a lot of hardcore structure in her life, a lot of things taken care of for her. And once again, you can start with the food, and then once you realize that she's a picky eater, you can look at the rest of her life, and more than likely you can connect the dots to she has always been able to have a high amount of opinion and preference when it comes to the other things in her life as well. They're usually pretty connected. I believe that in a lot of ways, most things, if not everything, is connected in some type of fashion. So this is one good way, or one good indicator to help you out with that. Next indicator, pull this phone back up. Your next indicator will be she makes a lot of noises when she eats. So if you're dealing with somebody and you can kind of hear all the slurping and smacking and moving around and type of shit in her mouth, you know, this will give you a clear indicator to she hasn't really had to be very aware, or she hasn't really had to tailor her actions or anything in regard to her environment. So she has always been, or usually is, in a situation to where she can be her ultimate super comfortable, raw, uncut self. So you may be dealing with somebody who is very in tune with, or very concerned with how they feel and wanting to feel comfortable at all times. So, you know, if you notice y'all are eating together and she's just like gulping and smacking and slurping and chewing loud and making all kind of exhaust-like noises when she's eating her food, this usually means that she is used to always being super duper comfortable, which means that she may be someone who doesn't handle stress very well. And I know that to some people listening to this, that may not seem related at all, but like I said, notice it and then start to look at the other areas of her life, and they usually tend to be connected to each other and go hand in hand. I'm looking down because I'm backing up my truck right now. All right, so if she makes a lot of noises when she eats, this typically means that she's used to having a lot of comfort and raw, uncut emotion in her life that comes from her, and she's not really even aware that maybe she's affecting other people around her with her actions or her words or anything like that. So like I said, if you notice that she makes a lot of noises when she eats, take a look at the rest of her life too. All right, and the last thing today is when y'all go out to eat, or when you're trying to get her something to eat, she tends to be very rude or judgmental with the service. So that could be the service from the waiter, the service from the owner, the food company, or it could be with you if you're asking her what she wants to eat. If she's very kind of rude or abrasive when it comes to you guys selecting food together, or when it comes to you maybe getting her food, and if she seems a little over the top, so if you ask her what she wants and she kind of automatically goes into this deeper, darker tone with giving you her order, then this probably also means that she's used to people really being of service to her, and she's used to things being her way, or she's really particular about how she wants things, and she's not going to be the most naturally open-minded person. So she could still be very open-minded, but it won't be very natural. It may take a lot of communication and conversation and patience on your part too. So this is our metaphor today on how to really pay attention and judge your woman, or the woman you're dating, her emotional and stress threshold. So take a look at how she handles food, take a look at how picky she is, take a look at how compromising she is when it comes to food, and you'll be able to be aware of this, and then take that knowledge and then look at the rest and start to pay attention to the rest of her life areas, and then you'll kind of see a common trend or pattern of behavior or something like that. As men, as red pill aware men, as masculine men, we want to make sure that we're always holding women in general, and especially the specific woman that we're dealing with, accountable for more than just sex and looking nice and, you know, saying nice shit every now and then or whatever. We want to make sure that we are constantly in a masculine frame to get rid of her ass at any time, and that is not to be mean. That is, like I said, just to operate at the highest masculine level and not have a scarcity mindset and feel like you cannot do better, you cannot replace her, or you don't want to say anything that may be negative to her in fear of losing out on sexual behavior or activity. So you want to always take note of her actions and take note of her patterns of behavior. So first of all, you can be aware and be at the highest level of knowledge at all time, but also, so if she begins to get out of hand or act unusual, you can always check her or at least have a open-ended conversation about it. Hope this helps. Peace.